Salute, ATP. It's your boy Clay Moore Reigns at ATP Combat Media Show. Shout out to all my subscribers. Once again, salute to everybody. We did hit that 1,000 milestone mark of over 1,000 subscribers on the channel. Channel's moving well. I appreciate all the support we've been getting into this day. Congratulations to the winner of that 5K giveaway we did this past week. And we're doing it 3 more times, guys. So that'll be for the next 3 weeks. We'll be shouting out one of the subscribers on this channel to walk away with 5K. So listen, man, do yourself a favor. If you haven't done it yet, my advice to you is go ahead. I invite you to hit that subscribe button. Hit your bell icon so you get alerts when all this content is dropping. So let's get to it. More boxing. Subriel Matias, man, looks like has decided to separate, go his different ways with his coach, Jay, quote unquote, Panda Najar. Listen, Coach Jay Panda was working with Subriel Matias, getting him up to this point, making him one of the faces of the Puerto Rican space in boxing, still sharing the time with the likes of a William Zepeda, who right now is in contention to fight any of the titles, challenge for any of the titles. He's number 1 across the board in the 135-pound weight class division, whether it's the WBA, whether it's the WBC, whether it's the WBO or the IBF. Jay Panda has his handful, and Subriel Matias coming off of a loss to Liam Power. A lot of people feel like Subriel Matias was exposed, right? Because we are used to Subriel Matias being a volume puncher, pressure fighter, comes forward, takes a lot of shots. And everybody was wondering what would happen when he jumped in the ring with that boxer puncher, right? The guy who has the boxing skills but still had some pop behind his punches. Well, we got those questions answered potentially against Liam Power, who pretty much for the most part, dominated the fight against Subriel Matias. I mean, there were moments in there when Subriel Matias did have some moments, but for the most part, he just seemed like he could never get his foot on the gas. It looks like Liam Power was able to dissuade him from moving forward, keeping him off balance, not allowing him to settle his feet in to apply that pressure that he normally does with these other fights. And now the whole world is shaking, right? What's going on? This guy was supposed to be the boogeyman of the 140-pound weight class division, and here comes somebody out of nowhere, Liam Power, coming off of a stoppage performance of Montana Love, maybe about 5-6 months back, right? And then comes and all of a sudden is inside of the ring. Subriel Matias and just dominates this guy. Comes from the land from down under, beats Subriel Matias in his backyard in Puerto Rico, and all of a sudden we're hearing that he's separating. Subriel Matias is separating with his head coach and trainer, Jay Panda Najar. Now, I don't know why. Rumors can go around, when things like this happen in this type of timing, people start to push out a lot of rumors out there, right? Like maybe a Jay Panda doesn't mess with losers or something like that, right? Or maybe there was some confusion or some miscommunications going into training camp preparing for this fight. Jay Panda communicated in post-conference interviews that, he wasn't really happy with the performance of Subriel Matias, that Subriel really wasn't listening like he should have been listening, was carrying out, kind of doing his own thing in the ring. And Subriel Matias pretty much co-signed that, saying that he's known for being somebody who just kind of does his own thing in the ring. That can be difficult when you're trying to get an athlete somewhere and you're hired to do a job and the athlete's not allowing you to do the job, right? Keeping in mind, of course, that Subriel Matias and William Zepeda under the same banner. Right now, Jay Panda needs to focus his energy more than likely on William Zepeda, being that the opportunity that they've been working for to get him to this point is finally knocked at the door, as Oscar De La Hoya is now focusing his energy on making William Zepeda one of the biggest faces of Golden Boy promotion boxing right now. Wants to get him in the ring to contest either for a WBO title against Dennis Berincek, or maybe get him in the ring with Shakur Stevenson to challenge him for a WBC title. Although it does look like Oscar De La Hoya may be moving away from Shakur Stevenson, as I'm sure everybody knows. We don't need to say it as if it's something that is being hidden, that Shakur Stevenson is probably the bigger challenge between the both of them. Dennis Berincek does look like the quickest way and the easiest way for William Zepeda to get a title, and William Zepeda having a title puts him in position to contest and unify. Just makes the leverage a little bit better for the negotiations, make the fights bigger, more money. It makes sense, right? But regardless, I digress to say that right now, Subriel Matias leaving Jay Panda Najar at this point in his career, one would say, what's the pros and cons of something like this, right? Well, obviously, there's been a relationship building between Subriel Matias and his coach. The coach knows him in a way that other people don't know him. And now one could argue that Subriel Matias going somewhere else could have Subriel Matias going back to the drawing board. But look, guys, as negative as that may sound, does Subriel Matias benefit from going back to the drawing board? It looks like he didn't pick up some of those boxing fundamentals that would have helped him win these rounds. He needs to start being concerned with that, right? Getting into competing for titles and fighting the likes of even a Richard Hitchens or Devin Haney or Teofimo Lopez, right? Or Isak Pitbull Cruz. He can't get down on these rounds and start, always counting on the stoppage, right? And that's what happens with a lot of these fighters that develop that way, where they have these 99% knockout ratios. They get very used to it and they get very comfortable with letting rounds go. And Subriel Matias suffered from that, right? He has to start learning how to win these rounds, moving around, how to punch without having his feet settle, still being a threat in the ring. We'll see what happens, because the pro is he may be needing to go back to the drawing board, and maybe this could benefit him in one way or another. Also, fighters get to a place in their careers, guys, let's be honest, where they start wanting that attention completely focused on them. I'll refer to Derek James, who really opened up his stable, had a lot of top headliner, big pay-per-view fighters in there, right? At one point in time, he had Errol Spence, Jamel Charlo, he had Anthony Joshua, Ryan Garcia, and Frank Martin underneath the same banner. It was reasonable to argue how much time did he have to give all those fighters attention that they needed, right? There were rumors going on that Frank Martin was going back to his old trainer doing work with him. We saw Jamel Charlo bring in another trainer with Juan Guzman, keeping in mind that Derek James had told Bomac, Terrence Crawford's coach, he actually had criticized and say, listen, man, you're not like me. You bring in other people to help you coach. I don't do that. So, that was kind of telling within itself to see that when you see Jamel Charlo bringing a Juan Guzman, or you see a Frank Martin going outside the camp to go get some work, or even looking at the relationship he has right now with Errol Spence, some might argue to say that he opened up way too much work on the table and his fighters started not losing their fights necessarily, exclusively losing their fights, but losing maybe their faith or their security that they felt in having an exclusive coach. You get to a point when you're a superstar where you don't want to share your food, right? You don't want to share nothing. You become a little more selfish. You want that coach that's going to be there with you from the beginning to the end. When you look at the attention that Gervonta Tank Davis gets, when it's time for a Gervonta Tank Davis fight, look, Calvin Ford, Coach Kenny Ellis, they come together. The only thing that they're focused on is Gervonta Tank Davis. Shakur Stevens leaving Coach K at the same time. Another one, just having too much on his plate, wanted that exclusive attention and said, listen, he'd rather walk away, and just went with his grandfather and Wally Moses to get that exclusive attention. So big stars in the game seem to have a habit. It seems to be a big habit or trend that the fighters start to want that exclusive attention. And maybe Subriel Matias was in the same space. Maybe he feels like, look, I want somebody who's going to be more focused on me, right? Anthony Joshua did the same thing. Went to Ben Davison and got that attention that he wants, right? And Ben Davison put everything to the side and put all his focus on Anthony Joshua. And that's the type of fighter and athlete Anthony Joshua is. A lot of these fighters who are in the big top five in their divisions like that type of attention. They don't want to spread thin across the table like that. So we don't know if that's what it is for sure, but listen, one thing's for certain, two things for sure. We're going to see if this is going to be the best thing this could be either the best thing Subriel Matias ever did for his career, or quite possibly the worst thing he ever did for his career. Panda secure over there with Williams Zepeda, aiming at having great paydays and big fights and championship fights over there. Subriel Matias, we don't know who he's going to be working with yet. Maybe he goes back to the island, Puerto Rico, get somebody who can work with him more in his environment where he's comfortable. Maybe this benefits him, right? You guys let me know in the comments, though. Subriel Matias separating, going in separate directions from his coach, a longtime coach of Panda Najar. Was this the worst thing he could ever have done, or is this possibly might be a new chapter in Subriel Matias' career where we might see the best of Subriel Matias? Yeah, maybe bring some fundamentals. And is he an old dog? An old dog being taught new tricks, or does he still have time in his career to go ahead and get all these attributes, become better in the areas that he was not as good in, and get back in the winning lane and get back in the title contention and to being the boogeyman of that 140-pound weight class division? Leave it in the comments. Tell me what you think. It's your boy Claymore Rain, Set ATP Combat Media Show. Listen, guys, if you haven't done it yet, like I told you, I'm inviting you to go ahead, hit the subscribe button, man. Hit the bell icon so you get alerts when all this content is dropping. Don't forget, we're doing a big giveaway next week as well. So you want to get in that in that giveaway, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's your boy Rain, man. And until the next episode, at this point, you out.